Okay, guys. Shawn Carpenter here from the Ollin group of coaches. I just want to start by wishing you an incredibly happy New Year. I hope you had a great holiday, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate, whatever it might be. Yeah, it's been a while. I'll be a little honest here. I was kind of nervous getting on here because I haven't really been doing this consistently. So you kind of get out of practice, right? But I want to get back in here, and one of my own goals for the new year is to be more consistent in offering what I hope is valuable content. So, tips and methodologies, strategies that you can use to create change. Obviously, it's a lot different than what I do with people in a session, like a one on one session, for instance, or a group session. But I want to give you as valuable content I can in these short videos, blogs, posts, etc. If there's ever anything you want to hear about or learn about, please feel free to message me. I'd love to hear your feedback as well. So anyway, like I said, I hope you have a beautiful Christmas holiday, a wonderful New Year's celebration. And I thought, might as well kick it off by talking about the new year. I think it's a great way to start. So, a lot of people, as you probably know, and a lot of people don't even do this anymore, but a lot of people will set New Year's resolutions for themselves. And that's fine, that's great. Make a big deal about it, maybe get started on it. And, for instance, if you go to the gym, New Year, the first couple of days of the new year, you'll find that it's packed. Inevitably, by February, what happens? It goes back to the same people, the same standard, kind of crowd that are going there. So what happens to these New Year's resolutions? Like, why do we kind of fall off more often than not? One thing I want to start with before I kind of get into that is a quote from Tony Robbins that I put in the comment section there, or in the description rather. He said, "Your past does not equal your future." Now it's fine, it's fine to intellectualize that and think about it that way, but really, really important to take some of this intellectual understanding and actually feel that your past does not equal your future. We've all gone through challenges. Some people much more traumatized, horrific than others. Some people it's pretty standard kind of challenges in life. We've all gone through loss, through betrayals, through grievances, hurt, pain, wounded, all these kinds of things. We've all made mistakes. Some of us a lot more mistakes than others. But it doesn't have to equal where you're going. So that's why I included that quote. I think it's very, very important. Your past does not equal your future. And so what I want to talk about is what that future could look like for you for 2020. Again, like I said, I would encourage you not to set a New Year's resolution. Instead, I'd have you think of creating a vision for yourself. And yes, there's goals involved in a vision, but a vision really, to me, implies a tremendous sense of purpose, a tremendous sense of desire, of calling. Feeling called and drawn to whatever this vision is. Another quote that pops to mind actually from Tony Robbins, he said, "It's not that people are lazy." He said, "It's that they have impotent goals." So in other words, they have goals that don't excite them, that don't ignite that fire inside of them. So I'm just going to take a drink here. Oh, by the way, if you're on here live, I didn't announce that I was getting on here, but if you're on here, say hi. Give a thumbs up if you like something I've said, or an angry face, or if you don't, whatever. Feel free to comment in the comment section. If you're watching on YouTube or watching after the fact, you can do the same thing, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I'll try to respond. So what do I want to talk about? So I want to talk about how, like I said, we all go through challenges. We all go, in my own life, I've gone through some pretty major challenges this past year, but especially this past month. And I'll get into that later, when I feel kind of ready to share. But one of the challenges I did share was the loss of my mother-in-law, who I was very close to. And this happened only in December, so just before Christmas. And yet, we knew it was coming, of course, but it's still, it hits you pretty hard when it does happen. And one of the things that I've really been able to reflect on more deeply than I ever have, actually, is really what life is about for me. What lights me up? What is needed? What am I called to? And this whole idea that really so many of us take life for granted. We just assume that we'll be here tomorrow, that the people we love will be here tomorrow, but we really don't know. We really don't know what the future could hold for us. And we end up putting things off. We procrastinate, we avoid, we delay things. Why? Because I could do that later. Well, we don't really know if we're going to have a later. And that's the reality of it. None of us knows. And none of us is getting out of here alive. So, if I could have, share one message with you for New Year's this year, is to start to live. Don't put it off, because you just don't know. And I'm talking to myself here too. I'm running at this idea of the ancient samurai, ancient warrior cultures in general. They lived knowing they could die tomorrow, but they learned as though they would live forever. So they brought both concepts together. So really, the biggest thing to think about is, what do you want this new year to be about? What do you want your life, your legacy to be about? Don't put it off. Get on it now. Great way to actually ask, to begin to create your vision is to answer this question. And I encourage you to answer it in detail. Write about it, journal about it, write it page after page. Really get into it. Allow your intuition take over, contemplate it, whatever. What are you capable of? And more importantly, what are you called to? Those two questions. What are you capable of? What are you called to? If you can answer that in depth and honestly, putting aside doubts and fears and insecurities. Again, when you look at it, so many people live their life based on fear, even if they don't feel afraid. They'll just limit themselves. They'll say, "Oh, it's good enough. Oh, it's okay. Oh, that can wait." But what if you weren't afraid? What would you really be called to and capable of then? What would you do? So I encourage you to write your vision out. Not just goals, but write out a vision. Something that makes you, when you write it, you'll know you have that vision when you feel alive. You feel this spark, this flame ignited inside of you. This passion, this drive. It'll feel natural. It won't feel forced. So that's part one. Part two, like I said, even when you have a vision or goals, or the simple idea of the New Year's resolution, most people end up, or far too often anyway, end up not fulfilling them, or fulfilling them only to a point. And then they'll come up with reasons why they can't. Oh, not enough time. Oh, it wasn't meant to be. That very common cop out. So instead, like myself, again, I'm talking to myself here too. I encourage you to be really, really brutally honest and say, what am I called to? What am I capable of? But more importantly, what would actually stop me from having that? What would stop me? What patterns, what emotional patterns, what behavioral patterns would get in the way of me fulfilling that vision? For instance, is it laziness, if you want to call it that? Is it procrastination? Is it avoidance? Is it indecision? Is it withdrawal? Is it lack of confidence, lack of action? Is it depression? Is it anxiety? What patterns, and we all have them, by the way, unless you're Jesus or the Buddha, somebody like that, we all have them. So what patterns would get in the way from you fulfilling your vision? Once you can uncover that, and again, it takes some brutal honesty for most of us. It takes some really big, in-depth soul searching. I used to think I was pretty honest, but I had to really go through that at a much deeper level this past year and this past month especially. So once you uncover what that is, then here's the questions. Here's what I want you to do. Number one, ask yourself, or I'm going to ask you this question. How could you raise your personal standard in that particular area of your life so it no longer interferes? How could you raise your personal standard? So in other words, what would you be determined to do on a daily basis to solve that particular problem so that ultimately you can fulfill your vision? So this is what I want you to answer. You can comment as well. You can private message me. You can put it in the comment section. Whatever. Feel free to share it with me. But I would encourage you to find between 1 and even 3, up to 3 things you could do on a daily basis to solve that particular problem. And I'll give you a little hint. It needs to be something you haven't done before or that you haven't done consistently, because the reality is if what you were doing worked, you'd already have what you want. You already have that vision, you already have that problem solved. So in other words, we need to do something different, something consistent, and consistency is the key. I'll finish on this note. One of my coaches, he talked about commitment and the idea of surrender. Surrender to something greater than ourselves, whether it's God, the universe, life, whatever. But I'm not going to do the story justice, but essentially, so I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, he at one point in his own journey, he was, really struggling with something, and he went to his particular coach, and his coach asked him, well, how often are you surrendering? So in other words, remaking that commitment. How often are you surrendering? And he said, I don't know, like several times a day. I'm coming back to this. And his coach said, that's it? Said, when it's that challenging, that difficult, do it every 5 minutes, whatever it takes. So that's the level of commitment we have. We can't just make a one-time commitment and expect things to happen. It needs to be a daily, a moment-to-moment commitment to fulfilling that vision. And the key that a lot of people miss is the patterns that would stop them. So number 1, see if you can't determine what your vision is, what you're called to, what you're capable of. Number 2, see if you can't determine what patterns might get in the way. And number 3, see if you can't determine some daily steps, or at least one daily step that will help you solve it. So with that, you guys, this is Shawn Carpenter from the Ollin Group. I'd love to hear from you in the comments section. There's a couple links here you can check out if you haven't in the past. I just keep them up here every time, but the free ebook. You can join the Facebook group if you're not there already. If you want a free discovery coaching session with me, so 1 hour session, I'm happy to do that for you. Or if you want to check out, if you're into art, you want to check out my artist page, feel free to do that as well. So with that, you guys, I look forward to seeing you next time. And like I said, I hope to hear from you. Cheers.